Hey, Sean from Open Pantry Co, and this is the Prep List. We've talked about reading your numbers clearly. We've talked about the revenue trap. In this episode, I want to talk about something that's a bit more uncomfortable. What you do with the money when things get hard. Because here's the thing. The way a venue spends or cuts under pressure tells you more about the business than most anything else. It's not a financial conversation. It's a leadership one. And the decisions made in those moments have a way of echoing through the operation long after the pressure has passed. The trend I want to name is reactive cost cutting, and it's more common than most operators want to admit. When revenue dips, the reflux is to reduce spend. And that's not wrong, but the instinct is usually to cut whatever's visible and easy, not what's actually causing the problem. So training gets paused, marketing goes quiet, staff hours get trimmed, ingredient quality takes a quiet step down. And in the short term, it helps the numbers. But here's what happens next. The team feels the shift, not always through a conversation, through decisions being made around them. They become less confident and less invested. And guests feel it too. Not always consciously, but something changes in the experience. And the revenue enters a slow cycle where cutting to protect margin ends up costing more in the long run through turnover, reputation, through the energy it takes to rebuild what was eroded. Pressure reveals priorities. What you protect when money is tight tells your team and your guests what actually matters. Here's the tool for this episode, a decision filter for financial pressure. When you're facing a cost decision under stress, run it through these three questions. Number one, does cutting this affect the guest experience directly? If yes, it should be last, not first. What the guest feels is what drives the revenue you're trying to protect. Number two, does cutting this affect the team's ability to do their job well? Training, tools, communication, support. A team that feels under-equipped becomes a team that underperforms, and eventually a team that leaves. Number three, is this a cost problem or a revenue problem wearing a cost disguise? Sometimes the issue isn't that you're spending too much. It's that a part of the operation isn't generating enough. Cutting costs in this scenario is a short-term fix to a structural problem. Work through these before you start cutting. You won't always have the perfect answer, but you'll make a more considered one. The operator move. We've seen venues navigate financial pressure in two very different ways, and the outcomes tell a clear story. The first time cuts quickly and broadly, reduces hours, simplifies the menu hard, pauses anything that isn't immediately essential. The numbers stabilize, but the team contracts emotionally, not just in hours. And when trade picks back up, the venue is slower to recover than expected. The second type is more deliberate. They identify what's actually driving the shortfall. They protect the things the guest and the team depend on. They make targeted decisions rather than broad ones, and they communicate, not perfectly, but honestly. The second type doesn't always come through pressure faster, but they come through it better. The operation stays coherent, the team stays with them, and when conditions improve, there's something worth building on. Pressure doesn't break venues, but undisciplined responses to pressure often do. Here's your question for your team. When we're under financial pressure, what do we protect and why? It's worth having this conversation before you need it, because the venues that navigate pressure well usually have a shared understanding of what matters most. That clarity doesn't happen in a moment. It gets built before that moment arrives. Money under pressure isn't a leadership test, not because decisions are complicated, because they are revealing. What you protect, what you cut, and how you communicate it tells your team and your guests everything about what kind of operation you're running. Getting this right is something we work through with our pantry review, because financial resilience isn't just about the numbers, it's about decisions behind them. If that's useful to talk through, our emails in the show notes of this podcast. Next episode, and the final one in this money series, we're going to talk about how financial clarity changes the way you lead, not just the way you manage money. And that's your prep list.